Hi, everybody. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and sharing your lunch hour with us today. My name is Teresa Parkhurst. I'm the permit supervisor for the City of Sparks and very excited to announce that we are going live with ePermit Hub as our new electronic plan review solution soon. We had announced that our go live date would be November 1st. However, our records management team is also implementing changes to our document storage system, and we need to make sure those changes are compatible before we go live. So we're expecting to get the green light on that very soon, and we will keep you informed. The ePermit Hub digital plan room will be available for almost all of our planning, building, fire, and engineering applications found on the onenv.us website. It is embedded in the Acela platform and won't change the way you apply. When you submit your project, you'll be required to answer a yes/no question of whether plans or plan review is required. If you answer no to this question, the plan room will not open and everything will be the same process you're already used to. If you answer yes, plan review is required, then the digital plan room will be activated, and that's where this demo begins. Today's demonstration is going to be on a building permit, but the process is the same for all of the divisions with very few differences. So if you're going to be applying for maps or admin reviews from the planning department, we can now accommodate all of that online. So one side note though, if you are applying for repeat permits using a master plan and you would like to use the submit electronic plans, the process will be initiated on those from our side. So you will email just the applications to us. We will build the permit and then open the digital plan room for you and hand it back to you for you to upload your plans. We are not requiring electronic submittals. We will still continue to accept paper plans, but we can't stress enough the importance of considering how you would like to proceed for the entire life of the project. So if a project starts out paper, it will need to remain paper all the way through till the end. And likewise, if it starts out in an electronic format, please only respond to comments via the digital electronic plan room. We won't be able to accommodate switching formats during the process. One other note, electronic submittals received before we go live that are in the process of review will not be converted to the new process. So we will continue to review those the same way we are currently processing them. And as many of you know, our current electronic process can be very frustrating. Review comments can be in multiple places and the project status is confusing to follow along. I think you will find that the ePermit Hub solution solves those problems and more, and I hope you like it just as much as we do. Seth Axhelm, one of the founders of ePermit Hub, is here today to demonstrate how a plan review is processed from initial submittal through issuance. So if you have any questions as we proceed, please use the question and answer feature of this meeting room to let him know. There will be several times during the presentation where he will pause to answer those questions. Seth, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
My pleasure, Teresa. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Seth. Like Teresa mentioned, I am going to be walking you through the entire life cycle of a permit application today. So we'll start out with submitting our initial application and getting our initial plans and documents in. We'll see what plan review comments look like with the new process and how you can access those and respond to them. And then ultimately, once we have an approved plan review, we'll see what the notification looks like to let us know that we're ready to download our approved plans, how to get those, and then ultimately, if we do have any revisions post issuance, what that looks like. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I got on the training today, I went ahead and started a commercial alteration application. So I am logged into the one portal here, and I started a commercial alteration application. So I'm just going to pick that up and we'll walk through this and get our application submitted. I am doing something in the building area currently, but everything that you're going to be seeing today will apply to all the other different applications that involve any sort of digital plan review. So the process will be very similar, if not identical, for all of those other application types as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start submitting my application here. So I've already got an address selected. I already added myself as an applicant as well as the contractor. So I'm going to keep moving forward. Entered a little bit of information about the application itself, a little bit more about the specific alteration that I'm doing. But then as I come to the bottom of the page here, Teresa mentioned that there's an option to indicate whether plans review is required. So only if this is selected as yes, will it open up the digital plan room to be able to collaborate on your plan review. Teresa, did you want to say anything else about this custom field right here before we move forward?
No, thanks, Seth. You got it.
Perfect. Okay, so I went ahead and said yes, because we do want to do digital plan review today. And then the last step before I am able to review my application and submit it lets me know that I need to acknowledge that I'm going to submit all of my documentation after I've submitted my application. So the digital plan room is an extension of the one portal here. And it just requires that the application is submitted before we start uploading our documentation. So I'll go ahead and hit continue here. I've already acknowledged that. And the last step here allows me to review all of the information that I've entered in here. Everything looks good. I'm going to sign the certification box, and then we'll go ahead and continue. Now, at this point, if you pay any fees or if there are no fees due at this point, eventually we're going to land on the confirmation page, which lists out all of the application numbers that were just submitted. And that's where we're going to get started submitting our plans and documents for digital plan review. So I landed here and I have one application from the city of Sparks. And what's new is we see that we have this upload plans and documents button that shows up just to the right of my application number and just to the left of the type of application that it is. If I was submitting more than one application in the same transaction and multiple of those applications required plans and documentation, for each application listed that requires plans and documents, you would see this button and it'll launch it for that specific application. Now, before I click on this button, I'm going to jump over and check my email. And over in my email, I just received this letting me know that the application number 753 has been received, and it provides some further instructions on how to next go ahead and submit my plans and supporting documents. So over here in the email, it says I can click here to open up these screens to go ahead and upload my plans and documents. If I click this, that is going to take me to the exact same place as this button does. So if you stayed in the one portal and continued your application after submittal and started the plan and document submission, then you don't have to click on it from the email over here. This email is just a quick reminder that if you did not submit just yet, here's how you can get back in and do so. Additionally, if you do not submit your plans and documents on the same day that you submitted your application, every couple of days, you'll also get a gentle reminder via email, and that email will have a link that'll take you right back into the one portal, right to that application to go ahead and start submitting that documentation. In addition, throughout the life cycle of your plan review, you are going to get some emails from time to time letting you know what is going on that particular review. And there'll typically be some sort of a call for action for you to take the next step in the overall process. And what we've done is we have included some links to some video tutorials that'll give you a quick refresher about how you take those specific next steps. So since we're just starting an application out here right now, this link takes us out to submit plans and supporting documents. So it teaches us how to submit our initial plans and documents, which is exactly what I'm going to show you over the next couple of minutes. But once the City of Sparks is live with this new process, these links will be in all the emails and available to you to get that quick refresher. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button right here. So let me zoom back out and I'm going to click on the link. And I'm staying right within the one portal. So it's going to take me right into the digital plan room, and I can know I'm in the digital plan room because it says it up here. There's multiple tabs here that allows us to navigate to different aspects of our plan review, but we'll cover those throughout the training today. And when I enter the plan room to go ahead and upload my documents, what I land in is something called a review package. You can think of a review package as a digital container, a digital file folder. It's a way to organize all of the files that you're submitting for a given cycle of plan review all together. So it is a 4-step process to go ahead and submit your documents here. So step 1 right here allows us to give a brief description for the package we're about to submit. And right above the description box is the name of the package that I'm submitting. So this package is called Review Plan Cycle number 1. And once your documentation gets through the first cycle of plan review, if there are any corrections required, you'll be resubmitting those in Review Plan Cycle number 2, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and put a brief description in here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and hit continue. Step 2 is more of your traditional upload page. So to go ahead and upload any documents, I can either click the browse button right here and select them, or if I have another window open where my documents live, I can just drag and drop them right onto the screen. So I'll click browse to find my documents here. I'll pick a couple. Now, once you've selected a couple of documents, you are still going to be asked to identify a document type. So this process is not changing, and that list is going to be pretty familiar. So I can come in here and select my particular document type. I can put in a description for each file to further communicate what is the context of that particular document. And then when I'm done, I'm going to click on this button that says upload and validate. So once I click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to upload my files into the system, but the button also said validate. So you'll see those files get added to the file list at the bottom down here. But the validate part of that process, what that means is we're going to do a little bit of file validation. So there's different things when you're working with digital files, specifically PDFs, that can go wrong with those files that would prevent somebody else from being able to use them. Probably one of the more common ones is a PDF file can become corrupt. And if it becomes corrupt, either the whole file is not accessible or parts of the file are not accessible. And we want to make sure we catch that as soon as possible in the process. So we're now trying to alert you to any issues with the file during upload. Other things that could prevent folks from using the files that you've uploaded are encrypting PDFs, as well as putting a password on a PDF as well. So obviously, unless somebody knows the password for a file, the party on the other end can't open it. So the validation process is going to catch anything that might be wrong with those files that would prevent your application from being deemed complete and ultimately moving forward for plan review. So you get that instant feedback right away, letting you know that there are issues. And if there are any issues, until you rectify those issues by removing and re-uploading, you can't move forward from step 2 to step 3. So to correct this, I'm going to go ahead and click this little trash can icon right next to each file. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to remove those files from my package and go ahead and select the files that I want to use. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to point something out. Some of you might have noticed in the upper right-hand corner, we have this red link up here that says requirements. Depending on the application that you are submitting, the review package is going to have a list of document types that you need to include in your initial package for the application for you to be able to go ahead and submit. In this case, for this particular application type and the way I filled it out, it requires plans. So I'm going to go ahead here and go find a good set of documents. And we'll list this as. All right, I think I have them all selected correctly here now. So I'm going to put a description in. Go ahead and hit upload and validate. So it's going to upload those files for me. We'll see as they get uploaded, they get added to the table down here. And in a couple of moments, it'll let me know if it passed validation or if there's any issues. Okay, so some of them are starting to turn green. And once they all turn green, I can move forward with the overall process. So you'll notice as I upload the documents of the correct type, and once they pass validation, they turn from that red circle to the green check mark to let me know that I've satisfied that specific requirement. Now, when I was selecting the document type for each of my documents, you might have noticed that I caught the fact that I had put specs on the wrong, or I'm sorry, plans on the wrong document type, and I had to change it. Let's say I went through and I hit the upload button before I caught that, but I did catch it before I needed to move forward here. That is what this little edit icon here represents. So let's say I had marked technical specifications as plans by accident. If I click here, it'll allow me to change the document type before I move forward. So a couple of different ways to make sure I provide the best possible data as a part of my application. Okay, Teresa, this is a good time as any to check in to see if you have any questions that you might want me to respond to or you want to respond to.
Well, apparently you're being very clear because nobody has any questions yet.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll keep moving forward. All right, so next up, I'm going to hit process files, and process files will take me from step 2 to step 3. Okay, and the reason the button says process files is what's going to happen next is it's going to take any files that are considered plans or supporting documents, and it's going to take them through and convert them from a PDF file format. So any plans and supporting documents will be required to be submitted as a PDF. And it's going to convert those PDFs into a web-based format that staff and all of the plans examiners and reviewers are going to be able to interact with via an internet browser. And then when the time comes to start reviewing any plan review comments that have been provided to you that you need to respond to, you will also be interacting with the plans and documents interactively via the browser. So we're moving away from downloading any files to do the plan review or receive any of our plan review comments. So when I click the button, it's going to convert the plans and the supporting documents to that web-based format, and then plans are going to go through one extra step. For plans, any files containing plans, and I've got 3 files here that I've marked as plans, we're going to take those files apart into the individual sheets, and then we're going to uniquely identify each of the sheets by the sheet number. And why are we doing this? The reason is because from this point going forward, for plans, we are going to version them at the page level. And what that allows us to do when it comes time to submit your resubmittal, it allows you to just include any sheets that changed. So any sheets that corrections were requested for. And then when you resubmit, its system will automatically version the sheets that changed with the ones from the previous submittal, making it very easy for the reviewers to review your resubmittal and compare it to the previous submittals. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Process Files button. And when I do that, what's going to happen is it's going to go through that process. And this process will take about 20, 30 seconds or so to complete, sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer. You can either stay on this page right here, or you could leave and you'll receive an email when you come back, or an email letting you know when the process is finished with a link to bring you right back in here. Now, while we're having that process, what I want to do here is show you one of the plan files that I submitted. So when we take the plan sheets apart into the individual sheets, we have a couple of ways that we use to try to identify what the sheet numbers are. The most accurate way to make sure that the system identifies your sheet numbers correctly is to include a table of contents on the PDF file. So I'm talking about the file, not necessarily including a sheet index on the cover sheet, but the file itself. So when you're exporting out of various design software programs, say like Revit or AutoCAD or some of the other ones that are out there available, the export to PDF dialog box includes a checkbox typically that says create bookmarks. So those design software packages can automatically create this table of contents for you, and including one will dramatically increase the accuracy of the system identifying your sheet numbers. Now, let me go back to my slide deck here. Just out of the way here. So a little bit of what I talked about just a moment ago was, again, some of the standards you're going to want to follow when you're submitting. So always use a table of contents whenever possible. And this slide mentions, especially if your sheet numbering is numeric only. Now, if there's not a table of contents, we do have some fallbacks. We can try to get the sheet numbers from the page labels. We also have tools to read the text on the sheets themselves and try to identify the sheet numbers from there. We also have OCR capabilities to read the image and extract the text and try to identify it that way. But if you're using numeric only sheet numbers, we encourage you to always use a table of contents. Otherwise, the system will have trouble differentiating the numeric sheet numbers from other numbers that might be present on the individual sheets. Okay. And when you're using the table of contents, use the following format. Include the sheet number first, followed by a space, and then optionally, you can include a sheet title as well. the system will extract that sheet title if it happens to be available when it finds the sheet number. It is definitely worth noting using standard sheet numbering conventions will definitely lead to better accuracy. The digital plan room has most sheet numbering patterns. So things like alpha followed by numeric, alpha dash numeric, alpha alpha dash numeric, things like that. It has a lot of those different patterns built into the system to automatically recognize. So using those alphanumeric patterns will, again, you help increase that accuracy. And then lastly, because we are versioning at the sheet level, you definitely need to keep your sheet numbering consistent from submittal to submittal. So do not change your sheet numbering mid-project. Okay. Now, once file processing is complete, the continue button will show up at the bottom left here, allowing us to move from step 2 to step 3. But we also received an email indicating that action is required and that you have to take the next steps to finish submitting your package. So just when you've finished uploading your documents does not mean you're done. You have to complete all 4 steps to submit your review package. Now from this email, I can click this link that asks me to please return to citizen access. So I can either click that or I'm going to go back to my browser and click the continue button, but both take me to the same spot. And then the email also indicates that I can finalize my submission, or I'm sorry, I can watch a quick tutorial on how to finalize my submission as well. So continuing that pattern of having a tutorial of how to take the next step. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue here. Okay, now I am on step 3 called sheet versioning. And this step is going to show me the results of the sheet numbering that was identified when it extracted all of my plans. So on this page, it's going to have a couple pieces of information to help me make sure everything is accurate. Now, remember, I submitted plans across 3 different files. So it's telling me how many sheets it identified. And as I scroll down here, each row within this table represents an individual sheet. So the columns here, I've got a title block column. So I've got a thumbnail zoom in of the title block to help me clearly see that this is T-01. And I can confirm that was correct. And then I have another thumbnail here as well of the overall sheet. So I can see kind of both views here. If I did want to take a closer look, I can click on the sheet. And I can zoom in just to double check. Yep, that looks right. So I can click on any of these sheets if needed. You'll notice there is an icon to allow me to rotate the sheets. So for plans, we are going to expect them in a landscape format with true north facing up. And so from here, if I needed to, if my plans for some reason they were scanned and they're portrait or something like that, and I needed to rotate them, I could rotate them here if need be, or I could always go back to step 2 and replace the file if necessary. The third column here says sheet number and title. So there's a couple of rows of information here. The first row is a text box that has the sheet number in it. And this box happens to be editable. So if the system did not accurately grab the sheet number correctly, you do have this opportunity to correct that sheet number. And then if the file also had a table of contents, we'll notice that it extracted the sheet title alongside of it as well. So the first row is the sheet number, the second row is the sheet title, and then right below it, it's going to let me know which file it found this page from and which page specifically it was pulled from. So if I scroll down here, I can see all 15 of my sheets. Now, for me to be able to move past this to go to step 4, a couple things have to be true. One, every sheet has to have a sheet number identified. And every sheet number has to be unique. So if I landed on this page and I had either some duplicates or a missing sheet number, those sheets would be highlighted red like this, and we'd see the message. And if I try to continue right now, it will not let me. It'll take me to an error message at the top, letting me know that all sheets require a sheet number and that the sheet number S-03 has been assigned 2 times. Now, I have a relatively small submittal right here with 15 sheets. So I could scroll through and find the issues, but if it was a larger plan set, if I wanted to filter out all the sheets that did not have an issue, I can click on this blue button with the red circle and the line through it. And you'll see when I hover over it, it says show error sheets. So if I click on that, it filters out just the 3 sheets out of 15 that have an issue. So I can come through and correct them. I see that this is sheet S02. I see that this is S03. So this one's numbered correctly, but this one happens to be S04. And I can correct those by hand. And once I do so, my continue button says show all sheets. And I can click that button. It wants me to look at everything one more time before I move forward, and everything looks good. And then I can click continue to move forward. Now, in my example, I went ahead and corrected things by manually editing the text boxes here. But let's say I did have legitimate duplicates. Maybe I had 2 different plan files that share a duplicate sheet number. If that happened to be the case, I may have to go back to step 2, correct it at the source file level, remove the file and update it and re-upload it with the sheet numbering corrected. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue here. And now I'm at step 4. Step 4, very similar to filling out an application like you're used to, is a review step. So as I scroll down here, I've got a couple of sections. General shows me what cycle number I'm submitting and what description I entered in. Requirements rehashes that checklist that I saw on step 1 and step 2 and shows me the results. So I have a check mark next to plans. I only have 1 requirement, but other applications might have more requirements. If I have any unsatisfied requirements, it would not let me go forward. So this finish button would be grayed out and it would not let me move forward. The final section here is files. So this is a list of the files that I uploaded at step 2. Now, if I'm looking at this and I realize I need to make any adjustments, I can do so by clicking the edit buttons, and they'll take me right back to that spot in the overall review package for me to make those adjustments. And then once everything looks good, I can go ahead and click finish. And my review package will now be submitted to the city and ready for review by the intake staff. Now, once I've submitted it, be aware that you can no longer make any changes to it. It's now in the hands of the city to review it for completeness and determine if we have everything so that we can move forward with your plan review, or if we need to open this thing back up and provide you any feedback of what might be missing, what might need to be adjusted, things of that nature. Okay. Check in with you, Teresa. Any questions that we want to cover?
No, everybody's quiet.
Okay, it's Friday, I guess. Okay, sounds good. All right, so I am now going to go over, we've completely submitted our application. We've completely submitted our initial review package. I'm going to go ahead and check my email here, and I'm going to check this email right here. This one says that application number 747 has additional information being requested. So if the intake team reviews your plans and documents and realizes you're maybe missing a required document, maybe there's data on your documents that are missing, maybe you're missing code references or something like that, they will turn around and enter details of what it is that you need to address. And you can find those under this intake comments section right here. Down here, there's a link that says, please return to citizen access to update. So I can click that link. And then again, down here, a quick video tutorial on how to take this next step. So I'm going to go ahead and click, please return to citizen access. And that's going to take me back into the One portal. And in here, it's going to take me back into that review package where I have feedback that I need to address. So that same comment that showed up in the email letting me know that what I needed to address shows up top here under this notice. Your review package has now been reopened. So once it's reopened, you have full control to go back in and make the adjustments that are being requested. So I can come through here, step one. I'm going to leave my description alone there. Step two, this might be where I need to add additional files or remove a file and upload the corrected file. So whatever changes I need to do, I can do at this point. I'm not going to make any changes in the interest of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue. Maybe intake said, double check, your sheet numbers are correct, or maybe they said, make sure everything is landscape. Maybe you can make some adjustments at step 3 if necessary. And then once I've adjusted everything, I can go ahead and click finish to submit my package again. So now city staff will be notified that you have submitted your package again. They'll review it. If there are any more deficiencies that you need to address, they'll send you an email again and it'll reopen a package. And you can go back and forth with the staff as many times as it's necessary to have a complete application and documents ready to move forward for plan review. Okay. Now, once we have a complete application and everything passes the application review step and we've routed it out to plan review, next, what'll happen is, depending on the scope of your application, different review disciplines will review your plans and any supporting documents. And if they've identified any issues that need to be addressed, they'll document those in the digital plan room. And once they complete their review, if there are any corrections required, as each review completes, you'll get an email notification that looks like, let's see, I think this one right here. So this is letting me know that application number 748 has building review corrections required. So in the subject, it's going to let you know the discipline of the reviewer, and it's also going to let you know right here on the first sentence. And as we come down here, you'll see a bulleted list of issues and conditions, and we'll talk about what the difference of those are here in a moment. But you can come in here and click on that if you want to begin to review those issues. But please note that this sentence right here lets you know that all discipline reviews will need to be completed before you can upload any corrected documentation. So the way this is going to work with the digital plan room is your plan review comments will be published as each review completes if any corrections are required. But we're going to ask you to consolidate all of your corrected documentation and upload it all at once this cycle of plan review completes. Okay, so ultimately you're going to get an email for each reviewer that requires any corrections, and then when the cycle completes, you're going to get an email that looks like this, letting you know that the plan review cycle is complete and we've opened up a new review package for you to submit your corrections. And again, you'll have a bulleted list for issues, conditions, and notes for you to go ahead and review. We have video tutorial on how to respond to issues, as well as a video tutorial on how to upload your corrected documentation. But note that all issues will require a brief response before you're going to be able to upload your revised documentation. Okay, so let's see what happens when I click on this issues list. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and log out. So far, when I've clicked on a link, it's taken me right to that page. But most of the time you get an email and you click on it, you may not be logged into the One portal. So I'm going to click on the issues list here. And it's going to take me to the login screen. So I do have to be logged in to access the plan room. So you'll notice I get a message right here that says you have to be logged in. So I can go ahead and log in. And as soon as I put my password in and click login, then it'll take me to wherever that link was trying to get me to. Okay. Before I move forward, Teresa, any questions that we want to discuss?
Actually, yes, we just got one and it says, are we able to download an itemized list from each discipline to distribute to the entire design team?
Great question. I can click on this little print icon right here, and it will print out that itemized list. Now, the way the print icon works is whatever is in my list is what's going to show up in that report. So I have a couple of tools at my disposal to both sort the list as well as filter the list. So I landed on a tab called Issues, and issues are any plan review comments that require require a response to be provided, and potentially will also require corrected documents to be uploaded alongside. So issues is where I'm going to spend my time providing responses prior to uploading my corrected documents. Conditions happen to be plan review comments as well, but they're the type of comments that we're not going to disapprove your plan review for. These are comments that may point something out that need to be satisfied at a later phase of the overall project. Notes are very similar to conditions in that they are comments where we will not disapprove your plan review for, but these are comments that are more general information in nature. Issues, conditions, and notes all have markups associated to them to help visually identify on the documents where the comment is referring to. Conditions and notes, their markup will be included on any approved plans or any approved supporting documents when you download those, along with any applicable stamps that have been applied to indicate, review for conformance or code compliance or approval in that case. All of these different tabs work pretty much the same. So we'll stick on the issues tab here. But again, kind of going back to that itemized list, I can sort my list here however I want. So I can click on any header in the table and it'll allow me to sort. I also have this filter button over here as well, and that'll allow me to filter by status of the issue as well as discipline. So let's say I only wanted to collect the building review issues and distribute that to a particular team. I could filter this list like this, click the print icon, and it'll only include building discipline issues. Okay, now let's see here. I'm going to start on this building review issue on A-102. I'm going to click on that. And when I click on it, it's going to take me to an interactive view of that particular plan sheet. I will have a title of the issue, which will just be a brief description. We see the title in our list of issues. I'll see the reviewer that created the issue. I happen to be logged into a system with a user named Digital Plan Room, but this would be the first and last name of the person that you're collaborating with from a review perspective at the city. Under description, this will be much more detailed text-based description, further articulating what it is the issue is that requires modification. Right here, it's letting us know that we are expecting a document to be uploaded in addition to the response to satisfy the issue. Up in the upper right-hand corner, we got a magnifying glass with a plus sign in the middle. What that is if I click on that, that'll allow me to zoom in on the plans to where that markup exists. Okay. Now, as a customer, my next step is to provide a narrative response as to how I resolved the issue. You're going to enter it in on this applicant's response section here. And when I hit save, it'll close me out of the sheet and I'll come back to my issues list and we'll notice that the status of the issue changed from open to answered. Okay, I'm going to click on the next one here. Still on the same sheet, but this time for a different discipline. So zoomed out to this extent, what we're going to see is we're going to see some red markup over on the left here, and then some blue markup that's kind of faded into the background. So the markup in the foreground is going to be the markup associated with the documented issue. I'm going to go ahead and click on the magnifying glass here to zoom in. And so I see that it's referring to this particular stairwell. I can go ahead and provide my comment. The next issue changes to answered. Go ahead and click on the next one. The next issue happens to be on a non-plan file, so a supporting document. We do not go through the advanced page level versioning on non-plan document types. So the entire file stays together as one. But when you click on the issue, it's going to take you to the specific page that the issue is identified on. And then I can use all the tools available here, same as I did on the previous one. So I can click on the zoom link and that, well, it doesn't look like I zoomed in. So I'm going to zoom in manually over here with my mouse wheel. So I can zoom in. It's going to have the title, the reviewer, the description that we're expecting the document to be submitted. And then I can put my response here and click save. So we've responded to issues on one of the sheets, one of the supporting documents. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. You'll notice under the attached to column here in the middle, this one's empty. So attached to is going to tell me whether it's attached to a particular sheet number or a particular document. But if that's blank, that means that one of the reviewers opened up an issue at the project level. So it's not tied to a particular sheet, not tied to a particular document. I still have all the same information available to me though. I've got the title, the reviewer, the description, and then the applicant's response. And then once I click on that and close out of this, all issues have been answered. And I have a message up at the top letting me know that I can move forward and upload my corrected documents. Okay. All right. Before we do that though, I'm going to go back in on our plan sheet here. One other thing that I forgot to mention is that the markup and the label for a particular discipline have each been assigned a specific color. In this case, we have a fire and a building issue. So fire has a red color assigned to it, and building has a blue color assigned to it. So just be aware that the different colors represent the different disciplines, and you know which discipline it relates to based on the label when you have that particular issue selected. All right, so the instructions here is letting me know that I have to go back to the Uploads tab to continue. And when I get back to the Uploads tab, what we're going to see is I have my plan review cycle number 1 out there, but I have a new one out here called plan review cycle number 2. And under the action column on the far right is a resume button. So we've created the package for you. You can head back into it. And you're essentially going to follow the same process that we did when we uploaded our initial documentation. So I'm going to put a description in here. Continue. I'm going to select my documents. I'm going to go to a different folder to get my corrections. And you know what? I'm going to try to drag and drop them this time. So I'm going to go like this. Just drag them onto the page and put them out there so I can select them and click open, or I can drag and drop them. I'm going to select plans for both of these. I'm going to click upload and validate. Looks like both of them passed validation. So I'm going to go ahead and click process files. And that same file processing is going to get started here. Now, while those are processing, I'm going to show a couple more slides here. So I touched on this before. There's 3 different types of plan review comments. The main one that you're going to interact with are issues. And these are comments that require a response, a narrative-based response. And then if the issue indicates as such, potentially also a document that has included the corrections to satisfy that particular issue. Conditions are comments where we're not going to disapprove the plan review. Any markups, sometimes referred to as red lines, will be included on your approved documentation. So you'll see that in line with alongside of any reviewed for conformance or approval stamps. Okay. And then notes, same as conditions or comments for which we will not disapprove the plan review, but these are general informational in nature. And their markups will also be available on the approved documentation. Next, I want to show you a little bit of a flow diagram. So as I was responding to the issues, what we saw was they were originally in an open status, and then they changed to an answered status. So this flow diagram on the screen introduces you to all the different statuses that an issue can fall into. And we've organized it into what we call a swim lane diagram. And we call it a swim lane diagram because it kind of looks like a swimming lane with pool or with lanes in it. Now, the top swim lane represents the city. The bottom swim lane represents you. Okay, and the boxes are all the different statuses that an issue can fall into. And depending on which swim lane the status is in, that determines whose responsibility it is to take the next step. So before you even have any issues to respond to, reviewers are reviewing your documents and identifying any issues, and these get opened up in a draft status. So those are internal only. So you are not going to see them until they flip to open. But when they finish their review, any draft issues get published to an open status. And when they're in an open status, that is the only time that you're going to be able to respond to an issue, is when it's in an open status. Okay. So if you have any open issues, you can click into them and provide your narrative response. And once you save that response, it will flip to a status of answered. Once you've answered all of your issues, you're going to be able to go back into the opened review package and upload any of your required documents. And once you submit that review package, all of your issues, or I'm sorry, once the city routes it back for review, all of your issues will flip to a status of in review. Now, the reviewers are going to take a look at your response and your corrected documentation, and they're either going to deem it accepted, meaning that you addressed the issue and the life cycle of that issue is over, or they might mark it as not accepted. And when they mark it as not accepted, it'll stay in that status until they finish their review. And when they finish their review, it will flip the issue from not accepted back to open. And you'll be able to click on the issue in the One portal, and you'll be able to view their latest markups, their latest comments in relation to that particular issue. And you'll be able to address it, which will update it to answered. And then when you resubmit again, it'll flip it back to in review, and you'll stay in that cycle until the issue is ultimately accepted. Every once in a while, you may see a closed issue out there. And if you see a closed issue out there, in that case, what that means is that issue is no longer applicable. We want to give reviewers the ability to close out an issue without having to accept or not accept it. For example, if you had a couple of issues on a particular sheet and the corrections for a couple of those issues potentially made the third issue obsolete as documented, the reviewer will update that issue to closed and indicate that it's no longer applicable, for example. Okay, so once file processing is complete on our resubmittal, we can go ahead and go to step 3. Step 3 is going to show us the results of identifying the sheet numbers. This time I'm only submitting 3 instead of 15. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm only submitting the stuff that changed. Now, when I get to this page, we'll notice I have an additional column of information available to help me make sure that my submittal is accurate. The final column over here is called previous version. And for the previous version, I will see thumbnails of any sheets where the submittal of this sheet will increment the version to 2 in this case. So I'm going to be submitting the second version of this particular sheet. So it's showing me which sheet I'm submitting a new version of. So you'll notice the first sheet, sheet G-105, that one shows up as no previous version. And that's because there is no G-105 in this project yet. Now there's valid use case where you might be inserting a new sheet altogether. So this is an okay value to have over here, or maybe the system didn't quite identify the sheet number correctly. This little magnifying glass allows me to look at all the different sheets and say, oh, you know what? That G105 is actually a -101, and I can link it up manually if the system didn't quite catch it quite right. In my case, I want to leave that as a new sheet. And then when this gets submitted and routed back to the reviewers have very easy ways to identify anything new that has been submitted as a part of this package. Okay, once I have all the sheet numbers correct, I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And then I've got the review step before I ultimately submit. So on this step, I still have a general section with my description and which cycle number that I'm submitting. I've still got the files section here as well to list out the files that I uploaded as a part of this review package. And then down here at the bottom, I have an issues list. And this has all the issues that I answered that will be submitted as a part of this package when it goes back for plan review. So I can click edit if I need to go back and make any adjustments before I submit. But once everything looks good, I can go ahead and hit the finish button. And my package has been submitted. The city will take a look you may get an email asking for some adjustments before it gets routed back for review. So that same intake process can take place here. Or once it goes routed back for review, if there are any further reviews that require any corrections, you'll get alerted as that review completes, and you can start reviewing the comments. You can start responding to those comments. And then you can, once you land at the end of the cycle, you'll be able to resubmit for as many cycles as it takes to get that approved plan review. All right, Teresa, I'm going to check in with you and see if there's any questions that we want to discuss.
Hi, quick question for you. I'm not sure how this works. If the customers can see all of the questions and answers, I'm going to run through answers I've already done, just to be sure everybody knows what's being said.
Perfect.
One of the questions was, will digital submittal process be applied to planning entitlement applications? And yes, the planning division has made all of their applications available on Acela. You will still only be able to submit on application submittal dates, but you can start building it in advance and save and submit on the proper date. No, we do not require plan check response letters anymore. However, if you find that it is a tool that benefits you or you think it will help the reviewer, you are free to upload it as another document. And our third-party reviewers, WC3 Health Department, I mean, they're not third-party, but they are not in-house. They all have access to Acela and ePermit Hub, and they will be making their entries in ePermit Hub in the plan room, and you won't have to go through separate processes to get those answers. And you can submit revised pages individually or as one PDF, as Seth just showed. And I think that was all of our questions. Yes.
Okay, great. So we've gone over submitting our application initially, submitting our initial documents. We've seen what feedback might look like before our plans get routed for review. We've gone through a cycle of plan review and seen that as each reviewer completes, we'll get an email letting us know it's complete so we can start taking a look at their comments. At the end of that cycle, we'll get a notification letting us know that all issues are out there, that we need to respond to all of those issues. And once we've done that, we can resubmit any corrected documentation. And then once we get to a point where our permit's been issued or our application has been approved, we will get a notification via email. And that's going to look like this one right here, letting us know that application 749 has been approved. And in here, there's going to be some links to view any conditions and notes from that plan review. But more importantly, we might want to click on the download approved documents link. That'll take us back into the one portal, and it'll take us to a very specific spot. So we've been on a couple of different tabs in the plan room: uploads, issues, approved. And from here, I can download any approved plans, and any supporting documents will be in a separate file altogether. So let's go ahead and download our approved plans here. So if I click on the download link, it'll kick off the download. And my file is downloaded. So let me go ahead and click on open it. Opens it up in a tab here. Now, if there are any conditions and notes, remember I said markups associated to conditions and notes will be included on the approved plans and supporting documents. But if there are any conditions and notes that do not have any markup and they're just been documented at the project level, your approved plans will contain a inserted sheet with those conditions and notes. And so you'll see a section for general conditions, and if there are any notes, you'll see a section for general notes. You'll see the discipline, You'll see the title and all of the details or the detailed description of that particular condition or note. So all the building conditions will be grouped together. All the fire and any other disciplines will all be grouped together. As it comes down the page, it'll come down the first column. It'll continue into the second column here. And ultimately, it'll continue to the third column. So it's a 3-column layout. And if there's more content that fits on one page, it'll come into a second page, etc. So it'll insert all of these pages at the front of your approved plans. And then once you come past here, we'll see the approved plans. This is an example of markup that might be included in the form of a condition or a note. As we scroll down here, we see the Sparks reviewed for conformance stamp, and that's going to list out the different disciplines, whether the disciplines indicated there were any conditions or anything like that. So that's what's going to show up on a cover sheet. And then on each sheet after that, a little bit smaller one will be in that location as well. So I can access my approved documents on this approved tab here. Now I'm going to go back to my home screen here in the One portal and point out a couple of other places where you might notice the digital plan room pop up. So I'm going to go to My Records here, and this is going to list out all of my applications across all the different modules or tabs up here. So here's the building. Over here under Action, you'll remember that you may see things like resume application, pay for fees, things like that. We've introduced a new action here for upload plans. And if you see that upload plans link, that either means you have an open review package waiting on your initial plans and documents, or you're at the end of a review cycle and there's issues that need to be responded to, and you need to upload your corrected documents. So you'll see that link here on the My Records link or on any of the tabs themselves. So if I come out to the Building tab, I will also see that link here as well. Okay. All right, so if I go into a record, I will see the details. This is all stuff that you're used to or probably familiar with today. So here's all of my application or permit details. I can come in here, I can see the record details, the workflow or the processing status, related records, plans and documents, and inspections. Okay, but we'll also see that there's a new menu here. So if there was a digital plan room opened up for your application, you'll see a new plan room menu here. And if I open up that menu, we'll see all of the tabs that we saw in the digital plan room represented in our menu here. So if I come in here and I click on Summary, this is a tab that we haven't looked at yet. Summary will always be a high-level snapshot of what's going on for your plan review. So you'll have the description you entered in the application, the current status of your plan review, the location of your application. You'll see a table of all the disciplines that are in scope for your plan review, the current status of that discipline's review, and then a count of how many issues, conditions, and notes by discipline. And then down here at the bottom, you'll see aggregate totals of those here as well. We've been on the Uploads tab. We've been on the Issues tab. You'll see that the Conditions tab works just like the Issues tab. So I can come in here. And then we have our Approved tab where we can download our documentation. If I want to head back to the general record information to pay fees or do whatever I might need to do here, I could do that by clicking on that Record Details tab. Now, the Plans and Documents section here, you'll also be able to download any of your approved documents from here as well. So all the documents for your application will appear under the plans and documents section. But in the plan room, the approved tab will be a nice little spot to just have the approved documentation. Now, for any application that has a digital plan room opened up, we want all the documents, irregardless of whether they're for plan review or they're just permit documents, we want them all to be uploaded through the plan room. So if I click on this little add button, it's going to take me right back into the plan room to the uploads tab so that we direct everything through the digital plan room. Now, everything that we saw on this training so far, we've been submitting documents within a review package. And those review packages are going to be kind of the traffic police in terms of when, during your plan review, you can upload anything related to that plan review. Now, if there's no open review package, when you come out to the uploads tab, you'll see an attachments button. So once your plan review has been approved and you've moved into more of the regulatory side of the application, the actual construction side of your permit, for example, for any documents that you need to upload throughout that, say notice of commencement, for example, you can click on the attachments button and it'll take you to an upload page where you can upload outside of a review package. Now, if I select the document here and I come to select, you're going to notice that there's no plans document types available when I upload. This is only non-plan document types. So it's intended for documentation that's needed outside of the plan review process. If I come back to the uploads tab, you'll also notice that I have a new revision button here. Once your plans have been approved, if you do happen to have a revision that needs to be submitted, maybe it's a field revision, maybe it's a voluntary revision, you can click on the new revision button. And that's going to automatically open up a new review package for you to submit any documents related to that revision. Once you've submitted that package, city staff will be alerted, and then they'll begin the plan review on the revision to your approved plans that you just submitted. Okay. That brings us to the end of the topics for training today. So we covered initial submission, going back and forth with application review. We've gone through plan review, and we can see when we'll get email notifications when review is complete and when cycle is complete. Once we have an issued permit or an approved application, we see that we get a notification and we have a special spot in the digital plan room where we can download any approved documentation. And then once our plans have been approved, if we do have any revisions, while our application is in a status where it's acceptable to receive one of those revisions, we'll have a new revision button that opens up a new review package for us to go ahead and submit that from within. So with that, Teresa, I want to turn it over to you to see if there are any questions remaining that we want to cover together.
Hi, yes, there are a couple of questions I wanted to answer live. One question, can another party, i.e. owner, project manager, have access to the permit portal if the applicant is their engineer or architect to see the plan check status? And the answer is yes. However, it's not automatic. We need to connect all parties into the permit so that they can have permissions. If you want to let us know at the beginning of the project or any point in between to add somebody, we will be happy to do that. One thing you need to remember though is that only the applicant gets the emails. So if you're the party in charge, you're going to need to communicate with your team and distribute those questions to them. And then the other question was, will this new process be used by City of Reno, Douglas County, and Washoe County Health as well, since they use the same portal? Excellent question. And I do know that Washoe County is looking at this software or the program. They're very interested in moving forward with it. Douglas County will not be moving forward with it. They elected to go with a in-house Bluebeam project, I believe, and it's brand new to them, so they're not going to stop with that. And then I don't know where City of Reno lands on this. So for now, the answer is just Sparks, the rest of it to come at a later date. And I think that's it for the questions. I'm not seeing any more come through. Thank you, Seth. It was awesome presentation. Thank you to everybody who spent their lunch hour with us today. And if you have additional questions, you can always send them to us at permitdesk@cityofsparks.us. And we're also going to have submittal requirements and general information and tips and videos on our website. And that's it for me. Seth, how about you?
I think that's it. You probably heard enough from me.
Okay. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.